4 years ago, eh? 4 years ago. Can you still remember it, or have you forgotten? We mustn't forget what happened 4 years ago. It was a sunny March, towards the end of March, the third week, in fact, in March, in which the government suddenly said, we've got to make this very important announcement. And there was this dishevelled looking Prime Minister. Do you remember him? Do you remember him? He was this sort of fat, sort of funny bloke, wasn't he? The least likely Prime Minister you'd ever likely to see, with hair that was all over the place, never used a comb. One minute he was on Have I Got News For You? The next minute he's standing at a podium and he's saying to the nation, you've got to stay at home because there's this terrible thing that's coming. 4 years ago. Can you remember that about far back? Or have we all forgotten it now as we go about our life and go, oh, yeah, that was a blip. It was just a blip. We had to do this thing. 4 years ago, we were imprisoned in our houses. Do you remember? We weren't allowed to go out. We were told, not just by the Prime Minister, but by all of government. And I don't just mean the Conservative Party, I mean the Labour Party, I mean everybody in government. They were all telling us, you've got to stay at home. Oh my God, there's this thing. And if you go out and if you meet anybody, it's going to be tragic. And not only that, if you go to the shop, we'll let you go to the shop so that you can feed yourself. We will let you go to the audacity of it. They would let us go to the shop, but we had to stick this blooming nappy thing on our face, you know, and breathe in our own carbon monoxide and other bits and bobs of poisons that we were going to be breathing about instead of nice, pure, clean oxygen. Because do you remember March 2020? Do you remember then, back then, when the sun was shining and it was a beautiful day here in Great Britain, and it went on for weeks and people were allowed to sit in their garden, but woe betide they talked to the neighbour over the fence. Oh my goodness, you couldn't do that. Woe betide you even get anywhere close to anyone. Certain distance. Do you remember all of that? You had to be of a certain distance. Oh no, and you can't go out for more than, well, there was the rumour, wasn't it? It was guidance, I suppose, that said you can't go outside for more than an hour. We're going to lock you in. And we'd seen these stories from China. Had you seen the stories from China where people had been dropping down dead, boop, bonk, like that? Oh my goodness, never really actually happened in this country or anywhere else in which people would be walking down the street and they would just suddenly drop down dead. Actually, that's more likely now. And funnily enough, we start to see those pictures, don't we? Sportsmen and all sorts of people who just suddenly are walking along and do drop down dead. But that's after a certain medical intervention. That's after everybody was lined up on a suicide pact and had to have something injected into their arms. Yes, some sort of, I don't know what it could possibly be. Some, I don't know, poison, probably some sort of time bomb that was injected into them. And everyone was made to have that. But that wasn't 4 years ago, that was 5 years ago, because we had to wait. We had to wait for the that nice bunch of exciting stuff that's in a file and it's shoved into the body. No. We were seeing these images and then we were seeing how people were welded. Do you remember that in China? They were welded in there. How you can't come out. Oh, no. And if you drop down dead, we're not coming. I mean, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? And I remember thinking, is this supposed to be like the old Black Death that we heard of in the medieval period, in which somebody would be coming around with a wheelbarrow going, bring out your dead, bring out your dead, and a big red splodge put on the doors of those people who have been infected? It felt like that, don't you think? And people were watching all these sort of videos and things and television programs about these contagions and things, and it was put into the psyche. The television companies were showing this nonsense and people were so fearful, and the government were there each week telling us how many people had got this disease and how many people had gone to hospital. Although, of course, the nurses were doing TikTok routines and looked very, very busy caring for people as they danced down the corridors with the doctors and their stethoscopes. Yeah, I remember that very clearly and thinking how this is a bit odd. And I remember also going into the supermarkets and seeing all these people wearing these nappies on their face, and people saying, "Oh, excuse me, you have to wear a mask. You can't come in here." And I'm thinking, no, I'm sorry, I'm exempt. You know, I'm a member of the human race. I'm not a zombie. I'm not an idiot. I'm not somebody who just follows, you know, jump. Well, how high? How high would you like me to jump? No, I'm not into all that nonsense. And in the end, they just, what could they do? I said, oh, right. I just, you know, I would just throw it. I'm exempt, mate. I'm just exempt. I don't do what you people are doing. I'm going in there. And I remember one particular time, some bloke, some wag, he was at the till and he saw me walking by and he's all masked up like that. And he shouted out to me and he said, "Oh, excuse me, can you put your mask on?" And I looked at him and I said to him, I said, "You're asking me the wrong question, mate." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You've asked me if can I put my mask on?" I said, "Yes, I can. Which you mean is will I?" "No, I won't. Thank you very much." And then I just went about my shopping. He was like, what could he say? But we were doing these silly things. Do you remember? I mean, I was walking up on the downs. I went up on the down. Nobody up on the down. Nice fresh air, you know, and you're slightly thinking, oh, any minute now, a drone is going to swoop down and say, "Excuse me, get back into your house. You're not allowed out. We are practicing for the 15-minute city. We mustn't let you see that these 5G towers are going up. You mustn't know that there is an Agenda 21. You mustn't know we are depopulating the world." I think I've said too much. Yes, I think you have, drone. Bog off. Anyway, I was on the downs. I was up there wandering about. And then as you go on the downs, you know, the Sussex Downs, you're on these footpaths, and some footpaths can be quite narrow with all the hawthorn bushes, you know, and the blackthorn and various things. And so you're walking along, perhaps single file, and then somebody was coming up. He had the bright idea, good man, to get out onto the downs as well, get away from the town where everyone's all quivering like this. Oh, blimey, oh dear. And then as he saw me coming towards him, I'm walking like this and he's walking like this. It was as if suddenly he'd put on his emergency reversing lights and he was going, "Meh, meh, this human is reversing, this human is reversing." Instead of what you normally would do, which would be, "Oh, good morning, lovely day, isn't it? How lovely to get out into the fresh air," that sort of conversation, you know, as you pass by. No, we didn't have any of that. He was reversing into the hawthorn bushes, and he completely got encapsulated in all of this so I could stroll by. And I looked at him and just said, "Good morning," thinking, what a weird bloke. Another time I was walking and people were walking on the pavement and they saw me and they turned with their backs to me, so fearful that my breath might contain some I don't know, airborne nonsense. And yet all of this turns out to be a complete pack of lies. And not only is it a pack of lies, the people who were implementing this complete pack of lies knew it was a pack of lies. The people who were appearing on television, those pompous presenters who were there on the telly telling everyone, no, I think it's a very good idea, stay at home. Those people who were putting down anybody who said, are we allowed to question this? No, of course you're not allowed to question it. Of course you mustn't question it. You must obey. You must obey. We are all Daleks. We will exterminate. And by goodness, they've done a good job of exterminating some people, have they not, with their little things that came a year later. Anyway, that is beside the point. Yes, that it wasn't just the politicians who were lying and telling us this complete absolute load of old hogwash about this thing that we all had to stay inside and lock our doors and stay away from our loved ones, not going to the funerals of those people who had died already just from ordinary things. "Oh no, it was with this disease. No, definitely with the disease," or not of the disease, but no, with the disease. You've definitely got it, or with the disease. But I've just been run over by a bus. That's how I died. No, you died with this disease, most definitely. You got it rubbed onto you as you were squished by the bus's wheels, my friend. Oh, is that what happened to me? And then, of course, we couldn't go to the weddings. We couldn't go and see our loved ones in the care homes. We were treated as if we were completely just imbecilic people with no brains and just dim as dim can be. And strangely enough, we stepped into that role. Not all of us, some of us didn't. But most people just went, oh, yes, must obey. Because, of course, we've been programmed. We've been programmed at school by putting your hand up and saying, I need to do a biological function. I just need to go and empty my bladder, please. No, you sit there and you do as you're told. Do your homework. Got to be in on time. You learn what we want you to learn. Don't ask any questions in this class. Thanks very much. No, we're preparing you all the time, preparing you to work hard as 9-to-5 slaves all the way through your life. That's what you'll do, because we need the energy from you. We need your money. And then we're going to tax you. Every single way you go, we will tax you, no matter what you do. If we could tax you for breathing, we would. Although we are taxing the ability for you to breathe by polluting the air and sticking stuff in the water. Anyway, that is beside the point. The thing is, 4 years ago, we had all these people telling us that we had to do something, or if we didn't, we would get into trouble. There was this guidance, and then there was what the law said, and they were just taking over control. And this same government, they're still in there, although about 100 of them now have stepped down and gone, oh, blimey, you can't hide the bodies, can you? You can't hide the bodies, because a year later, we'd all been injected with stuff. I say all of us, some of us were going, excuse me, this seems a bit stupid, doesn't it? This seems irrational. This doesn't ring true. This sounds like a jolly great big lie, and you're all part of it. You're all part of some great harm that's being affected to us. Yes, some of us managed to see through it, although every time we tried to talk to our friends and our neighbours and our loved ones, they were going, oh, shut up and take the thing. Shut up and get on with it. Stay inside. Don't go out. Richard, don't go out. I mean, I was out there doing my videos of heritage, landscape and nature at the time, and I remember I would go out on my bicycle and film stuff, and people would email in and go, this is like, this time 4 years ago, March 2020, they were saying, no, Richard, you're killing people getting on your bike, cycling around, you're spreading this thing, you're spreading it and everyone's going to die, you must stay inside. And I thought, I'm not spreading nothing, because there's nobody outside on the roads, is there? It's absolutely deserted. You're all quivering behind your curtains going, oh, blimey, oh, God, we're all had it. And the weird thing is that all of that has happened now, that you've all been given this, and actually you should be thinking, oh, God, oh, no. But no, still people are lining up, give me more, give me more. It's like a heroin addiction, isn't it? I must have a booster, boost, 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 boost. And people have gone bonkers over this. And yet, of course, even though members of their own family have got these terrible problems now, can't walk, they've got strange things going on in their brain, they've got some sort of, the big C is happening to them, massive numbers of that. If you've looked out of your window, all you can see is ambulances passing by at rapid speed. And yet the PSYOP continues, and yet those people, brain dead, completely miffed by it, going, no, nothing to see here. It was all possibly, it was all laudable. We did the right thing. We were injected. You just wonder what was in there to make them go, oh, yes, I must comply. I must comply. And yet there's a bunch of us saying, no, do not consent. Can you not see what's going on? Apparently not. Apparently, even though this was 4 years ago, people still are in the zombie mode. More people have woken up, and I'm thrilled to say that. More people have woken up and started to see and smell the coffee and are saying, actually, do you know what? What they did to us 4 years ago is so outrageous. And soon these same people will be out there with their begging bowls going, oh, vote for me, would you? Vote for me. I mean, as I say, some of them have stepped down, so there'll be more of them going, vote for me, would you? Vote for me. In fact, the other party will be going, oh, we weren't in charge. We weren't in charge. No, but as I remember it, Mr. Labour person, you wanted to lock us down earlier, you wanted to lock us down longer, and you were very keen for us to have this thing that is now causing so many problems up and down the land, and not only in this land, across the world. I don't think any of you lot should be anywhere near Parliament, to be honest with you. And in fact, good old Guy Fawkes, it seems to me he had a very good idea. If only he'd done it. If only he'd done it. Or that there was another one like that in this country at this moment in time, 4 years later, to say, do you know what? Because ultimately, you're all responsible for the deaths of millions of people across the world and all that misery that has happened. So do you remember 4 years ago? Have you got it in your mind what happened? Do not forget. Do not forget. Do the research. See what really was going on. Because if you don't, we will be walking into oblivion. Because these people, sadly, for all of us, they do mean business.